Picture this. You're sitting with your friends, other moms who have gone through a divorce or are contemplating, who maybe didn't picture their lives co-parenting, but are there with you. You're sharing your stories, you're inspiring each other, validating and challenging each other through your shared experiences. You're belly laughing, tearing up, and enjoying your favorite cup of coffee all at the same time. You don't judge each other, you empower each other to continue on your journey, to heal, and to just be you, whatever that looks like. Welcome to Co-parenting and Coffee. Thank you for joining us. We are both co-parenting and are excited to have you as part of our journey.
Hello.
Hi, I'm still laughing at the fact that since we're doing this at night for the first time in a while, that you've instructed your child not to come in because my child would not let me leave unless she's unconscious.
Mm. It's mostly like bribery and threats, but
Okay.
mostly bribery.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
And I'm not saying that it's not going to happen. So, but like I said, it's kind of on brand to have a kid interrupt our recording.
I mean, yeah, which is why I try to do it when my kids aren't here.
Right.
But you know, anyway, your kid's a
Yes.
good kid though.
She's a good kid. I am excited about talking about ADHD today.
Yeah, I just think the time is that I've been wanting to do this a long time,
Hmm. Yeah, this episode
and
is needed for sure.
and you know, I think neurodivergence is a pretty common thing,
Hmm.
and they're these kids are just different.
Well, they're different. And I think the thing that's challenging, I don't even know if challenges is the right word, but the thing that's different when you're co-parenting
Mm.
is you may have two very different you may have very different feelings about it. You may not want
Yes,
interventions, you may not want
yes,
medications, or you may not want the same strategies, and that's really hard.
yeah. Managing it in two different ways is can be really hard on you
Mhm.
because your kid's constantly adapting, but then on the kid because the kid's constantly adapting, right?
Right,
Like we're trying to adapt anyway,
right,
to two different styles.
right.
So,
And nice if you can be on the same page. Not
oh
always
my
possible,
God,
but
what a
nice.
gift for your
Mm.
kid.
Yeah, really is.
Um, so yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing what Christina has to say.
Yeah, I think she gave some awesome, like, just some really good ideas, tools. Like, she's awesome. So I'm excited to talk to her. Tell us our quote.
Oh, our quote for the day.
Yeah.
Let me grab it. It says, "There's pain, but there's also a lot of healing and growth and love, and I hope you can feel all of that too." And, you know, this makes me think of people who are going through it,
Mm-hmm.
like really going through it.
For sure.
And, I think sometimes it's hard to see anything but the pain or the anger
Mm-hmm.
or the sadness.
Absolutely.
Um, but there's beauty in the way that changes you for the
Mhm.
better.
I
Um,
think so.
and you don't really see that though until the pain recedes. But
Mhm.
uh,
There's one that quote actually specifically reminded me of one person in our support group that comes a lot. Um, because she just does an amazing job of recognizing little changes that are positive, and really it's so rewarding for me to be a part of, like, being able to see her recovering, right,
yeah.
and healing, and it's my favorite part.
Does she come to you and sort of articulate those changes, or are you seeing them yourself?
No, she's very good at pointing out a situation and explaining it in really in depth and really noticing the changes, or she right now she's awesome. I hope she hears this. She's surrounding herself with awesome people. That's what she's doing right now. In her past life, she maybe didn't have that, and now she's working really hard to form these really amazing bonds and community, and it's changing her in such a positive, awesome way. And she'll say a story from the day and then also really connect all of the little dots. And I'm like, oh my God, first of all, why are you so smart? Because I don't connect the dots that quickly. Maybe years later when I'm reflecting. But it's one of my favorite things, that she brings to our group.
It's like a real metamorphosis.
It is.
Yeah.
And it can be. I mean, I think divorce is so hard, so incredibly hard, but it can be such an opportunity for growth.
Mm-hmm.
If you take it.
Yeah, if you're willing to take that leap and not jump into in particular a relationship right away. I think that I have perhaps taken this to a next level.
See, and I was yeah.
Did you do that? Did you?
Well, not. I mean, I guess it depends on what you think is right away, but I mean, not super slow. But also, I remember like talking to one of my friends on the phone about it, and she's like, "I don't think it's really a good idea. You're not supposed to be in a relationship for years or something. You're supposed to be like, healing." And I'm totally get what you're saying. On paper, 100% true. I don't really feel like doing that. So I'm not saying you're wrong. I hear you.
Yeah. No, I think it's more about like repeating your mistakes. And from what I know about you and your current husband, that's not where you're at.
Right.
So yeah, but it's like really taking the time to learn from it.
Right.
And
absolutely. And heal. I mean,
yeah.
It's a thing for sure.
Yeah.
Well, we're excited for Christina. We're excited to talk about ADHD. We have so many stories, so many different things, and ADHD is, a specific thing, but there's so many different needs and special circumstances that this type of episode can really touch on, I think. So I think it'll be good. I'm excited.
All right. See you on the other side.
Bye. Hello.
We're so excited to have Christina here.
We are so excited and so excited about this topic. We have been like dying to talk about ADHD, so very excited.
A long time coming. Yes.
I'm super excited to be here and I love the topic. So
yeah. Well, we would hope you love the topic.
Yeah, hopefully.
Well, before we start, I just wanted to share Christina's bio. She is a seasoned ADHD parenting coach with a wealth of experience in fostering harmonious family dynamics, with a background spanning 15 years in the education sector as both a classroom teacher and a school counselor. Christina founded Calm Minds Parenting Coaching to address the critical need for parental support. She helps parents create peaceful and thriving home environments. Her passion lies in empowering parents of kids with ADHD to embody the principles of peaceful parenting and nurturing healthier relationships within the family unit. I love that.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's such an important topic when we're talking about co-parenting in particular, because harmonious family dynamics are not always the case, right?
No, unfortunately they're not. Yeah. We were kind of talking about this before I jumped on, but my brother is divorced and he has a child that was just recently diagnosed with ADHD, and it has been a pretty big struggle. Kids with ADHD need structure and routine, and that is completely ripped away when he has to leave one house and go to another and have new rules and new expectations. It can be really difficult.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I can imagine. Tough on the parents, but really tough on the kid.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are some things or some strategies that you would ask a parent to put in place to help their kid with ADHD in a co-parenting
In a
situation?
co-parenting relationship. Well, I think the most important part is put the child first. A lot of times, things like you said aren't very harmonious when there's a divorce. And so really just try to put your stuff aside and put the child first. And as I had mentioned about the routine and structure, like an ADHD brain needs, I mean, all kids need routine, but an ADHD brain, like, they need routine and structure. And so when you can build in a routine at mom's house and at dad's house, like, make sure that maybe the bedtime routine can be the same, like shower, PJs, brush teeth, and story time. If you could try to have some consistency at both households, it can really go a long, long way.
Right. And even if you can't, like, because there are situations where, like, they can't even communicate,
Yes.
but even offering your kid the structure in your house, is that still, I mean, it's still better than nothing, right? Or,
100%. Yeah, because we can't control what happens in the other parent's house,
right.
unfortunately. So, whatever we can control,
Mhm.
creating that routine and structure at home, like at your house, is great. And then another thing I tell to parents who are divorced and have a child with ADHD
Mhm.
are try to use, if you can't communicate with each other, use like an app. Like there's
Yeah.
one called like Family Wizard or
Our
something.
family wizard, yeah.
Yes, thank you. You guys are familiar with that? Are you? Do you guys use it?
I don't.
No,
I know we don't use. Neither of us use it, but we know a lot
But
of
you're
people.
familiar.
yeah,
Yes, we
Yeah.
actually want to
it's a
sponsor
godsend
us.
for.
Oh,
Okay,
cool.
yeah, yeah. Can I ask a question, Christina,
Of
about
course.
you said the ADHD brain. So what is that, for someone who maybe suspects that their kid has ADHD, because that's a whole other ball of wax, right? There's the management of the
Right.
ADHD that's existing and diagnosed. But, in my experience so far, I think more and more kids are being flagged and diagnosed. You were talking before you jumped on about how girls present differently and all that. So I'm just throwing
Right.
a lot of things at you, but sort of what does that mean, ADHD brain, and what are some
So,
things that a parent might want to look for?
yeah, so whenever I try to educate a parent about the ADHD brain, the first example that I give them to try to make it in layman's terms is picture their brain as a Ferrari engine with bicycle brakes. So it is really, really hard to slow the swirl. And
Mm,
we had talked about this before we jumped on. I self diagnosed with ADHD and I don't take it lightly. I was a teacher, I was a counselor, I know what ADHD looks like.
yeah.
And I can relate to that Ferrari brain. Like I am going a mile a minute. I have a very anxious mind, and it can be really, really hard to just focus on one thing. Usually I'm like, oh, there's a squirrel and the dog barked and the phone rang and, whatever. So, if you suspect your child has ADHD, they might present as hyperactive. There are two types of ADHD. There's the hyperactive and the inattentive, right? I would diagnose myself as inattentive. I have a very hard time focusing. I've always had a hard time focusing in school.
Mhm.
Um, but I never had the hyper side, the hyperactivity. But I've
Mhm.
seen a lot of kids with that, and it's very hard for them to sit still. It's very hard for them to, like I had mentioned before, focus on one thing because a lot of times we're focusing on a million things at once, or we're just hyper focused on one thing, so we're not really paying attention to what's happening in the classroom or whatever the case may be. And then so yeah, did I answer your question? Okay. I just want to make sure I covered that. But yeah, like the inattentive and the hyperactive, some kids are diagnosed with one, some are diagnosed with what's called combined, so they have both. And I've found, and just in my experience as a teacher, a lot of the boys are diagnosed with the hyperactive kind, and then that's why girls go so underdiagnosed, I believe, because sometimes they're just like, a space cadet like I was when I was in school, and so but they don't have that hyper, you know
Yeah.
component, so then they just like kind of fly under the radar like I did for all those years in school. So
Well, I feel like that's also harder to identify. I mean, like a
Yeah.
lot of things, right? It's harder to identify because they're not hyperactive. I mean, hyperactive is a little easier, I think, to
Yes.
see. So it's easier to diagnose in certain ways.
Exactly, exactly. And, some kids are just kind of like spacing out and whatever, and yeah, it just goes right under the radar. And so, yeah, I would say look out for if you have a child that's really spacey, that's just like completely out there and has a really hard time maybe getting homework done or completing even a chore. I always tell parents it's really important to just give one direction at a time for an ADHD child. We don't want to say, "Hey, go clean your room, go do your homework, go take out the dog." They're not going to hear anything. So it's important. We call that chunking. So just like chunk their assignments or chunk their tasks and just give them one thing at a time and then check in. Okay, did you clean your room? All right, let's check in. All right, now I can give you the next task. So that's a big strategy that I, recommend to my clients with kids with ADHD.
So when you're starting with maybe a divorced family and you're going to be a parenting coach for ADHD, how do you start with them? Like, what's the process like?
So it always starts with the parents, right? So it's really, really important. And I know this sounds cliche, but it's important to make sure that the parents are, regulating their emotions first. Because with ADHD, it's a deficit with executive functions. So, meaning like organization, planning, emotional regulation, logic. Yeah, but when we think about emotional regulation, that's huge, right? So we cannot regulate a child if we're not regulating ourselves first. So the conversation usually starts with, as cliche as this sounds and cheesy, like, what do you do for self-care? Even, and it doesn't have to be that you go to the spa all the time and, get pedicures and massages. It's really just like, are you taking time throughout the day just to connect to your breath? Just to check in with yourself, right? Because the more that we're calm and regulated, the more we're going to be able to regulate our kids through what's called, and I'm sure you guys have heard of this term, co-regulation. Have you guys heard of that?
I mean, I feel like I can assume what it means.
Yeah.
Example.
Yeah. So basically, co-regulation is basically just sharing our calm with our kids. Sharing, because a lot of times we expect kids to, like, we have unrealistic expectations of them. And so we expect them to be able to calm themselves and be able to de-escalate themselves when they're like having a full-on meltdown. But their brains aren't fully developed yet. So we kind of almost have to be their brain for them. And, this whole mirror neurons thing, basically, like our kid sees us calm, then they're going to eventually calm down. Maybe not right away, but, if we're yelling and screaming, we're just adding fuel to the fire. And so, yeah, that's what co-regulation is. And not to get like too scientific, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the neuroscientist named Dr. Bruce Perry, but he came up with this formula for co-regulation, and it's called the 3 R's. And so you do it in order. So the first R is regulate. So we regulate ourselves, and then we can regulate our kids, right? Like, and let me back up for a second. Let's say your child is in full meltdown, right? So yeah, the first, number 1, regulate ourselves, and then we can regulate them. And there's not a whole lot of talking in this stage. It's just like maybe rubbing their back, maybe reducing the stimulation, turning down the lights if you can, right? If you're in Target and you can't, maybe just go to a quiet spot if you can. Remove them from the stimulation. So then regulate and then relate is the second R. And relate, again, we're not using a whole lot of like language, or we're not talking. We're just starting to relate to them. Like, again, maybe tapping them on the back and just trying to relate to them and meet them where they are before we go to the final R, which is reason. And when you reason, that's when you talk about, like, say the child made a poor choice, they threw something, they hit their brother, whatever it may be. We're not going to try to reason with a child who is on full on like escalation, like they're completely dysregulated, right? So
ADHD or not, that's not good.
right, exactly. It doesn't matter whether they're ADHD, but I guess the important part of the 3 R's is just make sure, you're doing them in order. Because I've seen a lot of situations where parents are like, why isn't my child coming down? I'm yelling at them, I'm trying to get and it's like, well, the brain goes offline when we yell. That's another part, that it goes offline. And so your kids aren't retaining anything. So if they do comply with whatever rule or expectation you're giving them, it's because they're scared. Like, all that matters in their brain at that point is safety, like keeping themselves safe.
Oh, it's making me feel sad. I mean, I'm
Oh,
not pretending I never yell, for sure.
oh, no.
Yeah, that they would feel scared.
I'm not sure that you can ask any parent to never yell.
No, and trust me, like, I am not shaming. All of us yell. We're all human,
Right.
and but yeah, and going back to your question, Allie, about, or I don't know which one of you asked me, but how do I start the conversation, like, with a parent of an ADHD kid, and coming back to themselves, making sure that they are regulated, and also having just a conversation about how they grew up. Because I will tell you, 99% of my clients, including myself, grew up in a home where there was traditional discipline, like yelling, spanking, whatever. It doesn't mean that we had terrible parents. It's just that's what they did. That's what they did. They did what they were taught. And so, but now with all the recent research out, I'd say, like, in the last 20 years, we know that, everyone's going to yell. But if we yell at our child every single day, and that's like our main form of communication, it's really ineffective, especially with an ADHD brain. Like, that Ferrari engine is never going to be able to slow down if we're yelling. So a large part of my work with parents is really trying to just make tiny little tweaks to their communication, right?
I mean, that's huge. I mean, being able to do that
right
can be so impactful for them.
Right, absolutely.
And then you don't work with the kids, you work with the parents, right?
Primarily I work with the parents because it all starts with the parents. Everything starts at home, So I had the privilege of working with ADHD kids as a teacher when I was, on the front lines in the classroom. But now it really does. It all starts at home. And so when we can have a parent who understands what ADHD is and who, is taking care of their own mental health and well-being, then they're in a much better position to support their ADHD kiddo. So, yeah.
What about, this is a great question. Mm-hmm. What about if you're in a meeting with parents and you're like, you have ADHD? Like, you ever want to say that?
Sometimes I do. However, because I'm not a doctor, I don't diagnose. Like, usually people that come to me already have a diagnosis.
Right.
Because but I have 100% been in meetings where I'm like, okay, yeah, this runs in the family. Apples and trees, right?
Yeah.
But
the doctor.
Right. But again, I see ADHD as a superpower. I think that ADHD kids are some of the most intelligent, creative, empathetic humans in the world, and we need to end the stigma. Like, people are like so much like, oh, ADHD, they're just naughty and they need more punishments, and well, no, we just need to be able to understand what ADHD is. And so it has absolutely nothing to do with intelligence. In fact, I have a couple of former kids, this is dating me, this was years ago, who are now in college, and they're going to school to be like engineers. I mean, it really does not. It really doesn't. Right, exactly. I think
my hot take on ADHD is that there's probably a larger chunk of the population with it than we even realize.
Yep.
And it's maybe not even like a disorder. It's just a different kind of brain that we haven't figured out how to harness. And, to your point about a superpower, like, how can we help these kids and adults who are now learning and like maybe well into adulthood that they have this, and you know, it's a new way of understanding like why they are the way they are.
Exactly.
You know, that we don't all have to fit into this one mold of normal or abnormal. I'm using my air quotes.
Mm. No, absolutely, absolutely.
Super quiet though.
Really? Yeah, better.
It's really echoey. Are you
I
using your mic? Unplug it and try to use your computer mic. It's like
Hmm.
sorry.
Oh.
But I was giving my hot take about that
Oh, okay.
the
Give your
superpower
hot
of
take.
ADHD may not be a disorder at all.
I agree with you completely. Is her name Mel Robbins? Like that big. Do you know who I'm talking
I know
about,
Mel,
Jill?
yeah, Mel Robbins.
Yeah, I watched an interview with her recently, and some, I don't know, some gentleman, I guess he was a therapist or something, and they pretty much used those exact terms. Like, let's stop calling ADHD a disorder, right?
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah. So look at you. Yeah, like, but I agree with it completely, 100%. Like, why is it a disorder? It's just a different way of processing things and a different way of thinking. And um, yeah, I will always, always, always try to advocate that it is a superpower over anything else. So, yeah, very passionate about ADHD.
What would you say to a family who is having a hard time sort of getting on the same page about their child's ADHD, especially if they're separated or divorced, whatever, not together. Have you had
Mm-hmm.
any advice that might help people find their way in
Mm-hmm.
supporting the kid?
So again, I would say please put your differences aside and please just prioritize what's best for your child. And this topic is so near and dear to me because it's something in my family right now. Like my brother is going through this right now.
Yeah.
He has a wife who wasn't really on board with even my nephew getting a 504 plan. And for those of you who are listening, a 504 plan is an individualized plan that just has accommodations to support kids with the different, whatever. I'm not going to say disorders, but
Sort of
differences.
non-learning but impacting challenges, right?
Right,
So
exactly.
it might be a medical thing or, but am I correct that ADHD is not a learning disability, therefore they wouldn't go for like an IEP?
Well, I will say there are some kids that do qualify for an IEP. And again, to the listeners, an IEP is an individualized education plan. So the difference with an IEP and a 504, just for the listeners, I know you guys probably know this, but a 504 is just accommodations like extended time or a small group testing or whatever visuals.
Yeah.
With an IEP, the actual instruction that they're learning is different from their peers. So, but with that said, kids with ADHD can be, it is considered an educational disability, unfortunately.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah, it is, which I don't like and I don't agree with. Like I said, I just don't. But it is what it is. That's what they call it. However, some kids, like we were saying before, have inattentive, some have hyperactive, sometimes ADHD, everybody's brain is different. So some people's ADHD really does have an impact on their learning, significantly so much that they can qualify for an IEP. Whereas some kids might just need that extra time or, schedules, visuals, frequent breaks, whatever it may be. Does that make sense?
In an IEP,
Yes.
you can include accommodations in an IEP.
Yes,
But
yes.
in 504, it's just the
It's just accommodations, right? Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So coming back to your question, so yeah, it is a difficult situation when parents are just not on the same page. It's so hard. And so that's where, like, even in my family, I have this issue, and I've really tried to push, like, if you guys can't communicate with each other, use a third party app, have a calendar where you don't even have to talk face to face, just like drop it in that app, right? Also, I would encourage, and I know not all parents are open to this, but have a third party just listen in, like have a coach, have a therapist, have a counselor, whoever it may be. Sometimes parents unfortunately have to take this all the way to the courts.
Yeah.
And before we get into that mess, try a counselor, try counseling, try coaching, and have a third party listen in to try to help, because it's so unfortunate that divorced parents, unfortunately have such turmoil with each other that it impacts the child.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's really, really a tough one, but as much as consistency can be provided and routine and structure, and communication is so, so, so important, in any relationship. But it is really, really paramount when you have a child with ADHD and they're going to two different homes. Like in my family's situation, this child is with one parent Monday, Tuesday, another parent Wednesday, Thursday, and it's like, and then they every other weekend. So they are like back and forth and back and forth, and they don't know which way they're going, and it's really, really, really difficult. But
if you got to pick, I mean, I know,
yeah.
like, it would be a judge's decision or other people's decision.
Yeah.
If you got to pick a parenting schedule for a child with ADHD, what do you think would be a good parenting schedule? Like in a 50-50 situation where the parents get 50-50. Like,
Right.
week on, week. I mean, this is such a general question.
No. I think it's an amazing question. I think if it has to be 50-50, if it can't just be like, you go to the one parents every other weekend.
Right.
If it has to be completely 50-50, I would say 1 week on and 1 week off, because transitions are so difficult for an ADHD brain. They lack that planning and organization, and so I think that if they're just 1 full week with mom and then 1 full week with dad, it at least provides a little bit of consistency that they need.
Yeah.
But that is such a great question. It really is. It's really tough. I've tried to encourage my family, the one that I keep referring to try that. Try a different schedule, because they have a high schooler. He just started high school, and then they have the 9-year-old with the ADHD, and it's like, it's really, really hard. Even with sleep too, like they get a certain amount of.
I mean, especially in divorced families, transitions are hard. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
Our schedules are so different, but like, even just coming home, they're tired. They're like, as soon as they see their mom, they're like, want to like, your mom's like, well, in our cases, right? Your mom's like your safe spot, so you want to like lash out. You've been holding it in or whatever. Or you're home and you want to like you let go of everything. So transitions are hard, just in general. So is there something like that you would say would help a kid with ADHD, or any kid really, that like, if you're doing the transition, what's something that you think would help like lessen the burden of the transition?
I think it's just a conversation to have with the kid to prepare them for, what's coming. Like, we know, like, we were just here for the whole week. Now, remember, we're going to dad's. Things are going to be a little bit different. Visuals, having visuals in both houses can be really, really helpful, so that they know what their schedules are. Oh, you could have a schedule of what the day looks like, or, the morning routine, or like a checklist, or like a chore chart, or the bedtime routine, and where they can actually like go and check it off.
Okay.
That can be, just having some continuity. Like, okay, like, I know things are different at mom's than at dad's, but at least I know that I still have the checklist, right?
Yeah.
Or I still have my visual hanging up.
And
Well, the gratification of checking those things.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love checking things off.
Me too. I'm such a paper and pencil person rather than like digital. I'm like, no, I need to check it off. Like it's so
And then
much
I
more
get so
gratifying.
mad if I do something and it's not on my list, then I have to write it down.
You have
and
to
check
add it
it
to the
off.
list so you can check it off. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
I need credit.
But yeah, so it is really, really difficult, with transitions and it depends, how old they are. Are they old enough to like have that conversation about, you know, just things are going to be different for the next week. You're going to dad's house, right? So just presenting it in a developmentally appropriate way. When you can drive to the place, like a lot of times parents will say, well, my kid's having so much anxiety. Like if a child's like moving from elementary school to middle school, well, go to the place, meet the teachers, like make the child familiar with the place if you can. But yeah, transitions, they're something that I think every child struggles with.
Yeah.
I even struggle with it, with transitions and change. But as much as we can prepare, just having simple conversations and having visuals and, trying to be on the same page as much as you can with the other parent. And I know that we don't always have control over that.
Yeah.
But just try to control what you can control, because like you had mentioned before, if they're getting at least some structure at mom's house and it's kind of a free-for-all at dad's, at least 50% of the time they are getting what their brain needs. And it's not ideal.
Sure.
It really isn't. But unless parents are willing to work together and to, maybe get some family counseling, it can be a challenge, but it's not impossible. It's not impossible, for sure.
What kind of strategies would a counselor or someone like you help to implement for a family? Like how can we help people understand that value add?
So if I was sitting down with two parents, like two divorced parents, and they were both willing to listen, the first thing I would say is, let's talk about what the expectations are at both of your houses and how can we bring some continuity in. It doesn't have to be like the same rules at mom's and dad's, but what can we make? How can we, I would kind of word, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Like, where can we meet?
Where can we meet? And
I feel like we need this for every divorced family, not just for ADHD.
Yeah, absolutely. And really try to make it more, just keep the focus on the kid. Keep the focus on the kid. That's what, parents I've worked with in the past, you can tell that there's some, turmoil going on for sure. Just keep the focus. What benefits the child? Not you, not mom, not dad. What is the best decision for the child? Just keep the focus on the child. And let's see. Sorry, something just flew out of my mind. I was going to share. I can't remember. It'll come back to me. But yeah, just keeping the focus on the child. And again, if you can't communicate, because I've seen that, unfortunately. Use those third-party apps. Try your best to regulate yourself in front of your children. But I would say that to both parents, right? If you need a break, because we all do, everybody's human, you need to go breathe or scream into a pillow or whatever you need to do, go do that before you come and respond to your child who is having a full-on meltdown. And I would say that to both parents. That's the most important part, is because kids don't do as we say, they do as we do, right? So
it's so unfortunate.
Right. It is unfortunate.
You just do what I say. You don't have to do what I'm doing.
Right, exactly. So we just have to be mindful of that. If we're like yelling and screaming all the time and then our kids yell and scream, well, like, duh, of course they're going to. We need to, again, share our calm with them. Yes.
Yes, there have been many times where I've walked away and taken a break and come
Yeah,
back.
good.
Where are you going? I'm going to calm myself down. So
I'm going to go take a break. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I need a minute.
No, that's great too, because you're modeling for them, like, it's okay to take a break. All of us are imperfect and we all need a break sometimes. So that's the best, the most, what would I say? The most effective tool, parenting tool, is modeling. Model what you want to see.
Right.
Yes. It's going to drive me crazy what I was going to say before. My goodness. I will say, okay, here's another thing. For an ADHD brain, a child's brain, but really for an ADHD brain in particular, for the sake of our conversation today, they really need a lot of praise, a lot of celebration, because an ADHD brain tends to have lower dopamine. And so, and so we just need to like find the smallest little things that we can. Like, say your kid is just like a complete hot mess and the room's a mess and the backpack's a mess and the homework's not done and whatever, but try to find that one tiny thing that they did right, even if it was just that they put on their shoe, even if it was just one shoe. Just like, and that's what I would say to two co-parents. Like, we're not, this isn't about you, it's about your kid. Like, we need to make sure that we are as much as we can providing consistency, as much as we can praising them. You know, again, we know we don't have control over different parenting styles, but if you just really try to word it like our kid needs a lot of praise, you're not going to be praising and yelling at the same time. So
Sure.
Just kind of like present it that way. And then also, when I think of like just different tools that parents can use in their homes with an ADHD child, I would say like timers.
Yes.
Yeah, you know, have you guys ever heard of the Pomodoro theory?
No.
So it's like supposed to just be, it's very simple, and you can modify it based on how old the child is, but it's essentially like you put on a timer, and I tried this for myself recently, and it really did work. You put on a timer, like, depending on how old your kid is. If, say, your kid's 9 or whatever, and for 10 minutes, we're going to put on a timer, and for 10 minutes, you're going to do this routine. And then when the timer goes off, then we're going to check in.
Okay.
Then it's basically just like you timing yourself and just doing one task at a time. Yeah.
I feel like that would work well for me too.
Yeah, it worked well for me because I have a brain that's all over the place, and I tried that recently, and I'm like, oh wow,
I do that sometimes when I'm like overwhelmed with clutter. I'll be
Right.
like, "All right, I'm setting a timer because I'm like really bad at dealing with clutter.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna set a timer for 15 minutes and just like go, and like it's amazing how much you can get done in 15
Yes.
minutes if you're
Right.
focused on one thing.
Exactly. Especially when the Ferrari engine is like all over the place, and they want to do like, oh,
A lot of squirrels running around. Yes.
yeah, lots of squirrels. Yes. Yes. What else was I gonna say? Oh, and we've kind of hit on this, but with ADHD, it's really important to use simple, clear, concise language, right? Like we had said, like one thing at a time, and just being very, very clear in our language so that kids know what's expected of them. Like sometimes we could give one direction and ask our child to repeat it back to us so we know that they heard it.
Yes.
Yes, and yeah, trying to think. Did you guys?
I think those are great.
They are great. I have one
Yeah.
last question.
Yeah.
You have an ADHD kid, and you ask them to do a task they hate doing. How do you get them to do the task?
So, one, it depends on how old they are, but if you can, make it fun. Like if it's like a kid who doesn't want to brush their teeth,
Yeah.
okay, I challenge you to jump on one foot while you're brushing your teeth, you know? If you can make it fun. Or use the Pomodoro theory. Listen, you only have to do this for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I bet you can't.
Yeah.
You know, and like try to challenge them like in a fun way.
Reverse psychology is wonderful. Yes. Okay.
Yes, it is. It works. And they're not always going to be like happy about it,
Sure.
but A lot of positive reinforcement goes a long way. Like, even if they just get started on a task that they hate, but then they're like giving you that face, like, oh, I hate this and I hate you and I hate you for making me do this.
Right.
Like, just like saying, hey, I love that you got started, even if they're not happy. So, yeah, praise, make it fun. Um, yeah, and just more and more celebrations. Like, even if they're just so angry, I love that you did. I love that you put your clothes away,
Yeah.
even though you didn't want to. I'm super proud of you. And make sure that this praise is specific, not just like, hey, good job. What did they do a good job at,
Understood.
So, yeah. What else do you guys get? Any
Thank
other
you.
questions?
I don't think so.
No?
I think that these tools and this information that you're giving for ADHD kids in particular, but even for any situation, will be so helpful. So super thankful for you. And
Christina,
Of course.
where can people find you? I mean, we'll put it in the show notes, but I love to ask.
Yeah, so I have a Facebook group. It's called Supports for Parents of Kids with ADHD. It's very simple. And then I'm also on Instagram as calm__minds. And let me actually back up. The Facebook group is called Calm Minds Supports for Parents with ADHD. So
Okay.
Calm Minds are in both titles. But yeah, I hang out mostly in my Facebook group.
Okay.
So they could find me there, and I'd love to give the audience a freebie if that's okay with you guys. I have a ADHD parenting guide
Yeah.
that I'd like to share, so hopefully we can drop that link in as well.
yeah, we'll drop the link in for
That
sure.
would be great.
Definitely.
Thank you for that.
Of course, of course.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Great having you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So that was awesome.
Oh my God.
I really love her. I think she gave like really practical advice, and
Yes.
I love that there's so many different kinds of coaches now. Like in an
Yeah.
ADHD coach, especially in a co-parenting situation, I could see how that would be so valuable. Somebody that can work with both parents.
Having like a neutral expert.
Right.
Yeah. Especially if, I could see potential for conflict if, say, one parent was very informed and the other was not informed at all. And, if the uninformed parent doesn't want to listen to the informed parent,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
So,
Yeah, I think
cool.
it could be really valuable. And she gives some great advice that you can use like today, which I loved.
Yes, agree.
I could probably use for myself.
We all could use it,
Right.
actually.
So
Yeah.
love that. Thank you very much, Christina. So we're gonna do something a little different today. We're not doing a story, and we're kind of on the fence about this, but we're kind of excited about it. We are pulling some "Am I the Asshole" stories from Reddit that are focused around co-parenting because they have so many.
You need to explain what Emma the Asshole is, because there's some folks
Oh, there's people
who
that
might not know what it is.
Okay. Okay. So, Am I the Asshole is people will post a story about a topic, and so they'll add stuff about co-parenting. I mean, there's stuff about literally everything. And they share their story, and then you can post your opinion and say if they're being the asshole or they're not being the asshole.
Do you just say like the word, or like
No, you give your opinion, I would say.
little analysis? All right, I like it.
So I like it. What I never want it to be for us is, or what I want to be clear about, is that even when we're reading these stories, there's always two sides, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to be kind of giving our opinions or judging based on the information we have.
Yes. I reserve the right, though, to call like a spade a spade.
Yeah. Right. Fair. I have trouble with it because I always want to be like, well, I didn't hear the other side. But sometimes you're just an asshole too. Like you're
Let's
being
not
an asshole.
overload on the empathy here.
Right.
I mean,
Fair. You like you, Allie. This is why I love you.
we tell it like it is. Oh my God.
All right. So the first one is called Am I the Asshole? Co-parenting, screen time, and conflict. And we're going to post these on our Facebook and on our Instagram because we want you guys to tell us your opinion.
Yeah.
So, am I the asshole? Co-parenting, screen time, and conflict. All right. Now I'm going to read it. And it's late. Daughter 12 spends lots of time on tech. I co-parent with her mom 50-50, week on and week off. Daughter is in her first year of a top 10 UK grammar school, which is demanding and has lots of homework. The week she's with me, she gets all of her homework done as I encourage her to do it. She's fine once she gets started, but tech addiction is a barrier to entry. When she's with mom, she never gets it done and comes back to me with excess homework and always playing catch up. This is despite me and her mom having agreement that all homework is cleared before handover day. I set up screen time limits, which are generous, 2 hours a day, weekdays, and 6 hours on the weekends. I think this is loads. Also, I have app limits, for example, only 1 hour max for TikTok because it's frankly just horrendous for kids' brains. I encourage time in nature. We'll go hiking or do some active leisure, which she enjoys once started, but again would default to lounging all day given a choice. Screen time limits set up on my iOS account as I bought the phone and set up the contract. Mom is complaining that I should either remove limits or give her access to boost screen time when daughter is with her. Not sure even possible. My issue is that mom will just let daughter rot her brain 24/7 all weekend and weeknights and develop chronic phone addiction. Not an assumption, it's happened many times before. And because my daughter is in such a great school, I'm really keen to not let that happen, as she'll likely fall behind studies and become overwhelmed. I feel like I'm working alone to instill self-discipline, motivation, and a healthy lifestyle balance. Am I the asshole for being too controlling when my daughter's with her mom? There's
Okay,
so
wait,
much.
wait. I need you to go back and tell me,
Ah,
is
I just
is
clicked that.
dad paying for the phone?
Yes, he said he was.
Hmm.
So I have like sort of as I do. I sort of have both. I've had experiences with both parts of that, I think. Screen time,
Hmm.
I get it. I hate screen time. Um at the same point, what about on days she's homesick? What about on a half day?
Hmm.
What
Hmm.
about, I mean, there's like a million what about. And so, for example, me and my co-parent, he had set up a bunch of parental things that had
Yeah.
somehow like locked her thing down to like Elmo. And she was like 8. And so it literally became useless. Like,
Okay.
I'm like, just, so then she would just use my phone.
Right.
So, like, I get, at the same point, I understand what he is saying.
Yeah. So a couple of things. One, he cannot control how his ex parents the
Right.
child, right? Like that's he can't have the control over what the mom does.
Right.
That being said, um, you know, how old she's 12?
12, yeah.
So she should be at 12 capable of managing her homework load
Hmm.
and
Yeah, but don't you
making
think,
good choices.
agreed, but don't you
And
think
yeah.
you have to say to them, like, you gotta, what's your homework? I mean, I think
Oh,
I'm always
absolutely.
thinking,
Absolutely. And
right.
that's something that clearly the dad is going to do and the mom isn't.
Hmm.
But if the dad is paying for the phone,
Right.
I think it is completely within dad's right to say, if you don't get your grades where they need to be,
I'm not,
then you lose the phone
right.
completely.
Right.
And if mom isn't okay with that, well, mom's not paying for the phone.
Right.
And so it might actually spring mom into action to say, you know,
You
you
gotta
need
get,
your phone. I need to keep in touch with you. You need your phone.
right.
And I mean, the kid needs motivation. And
Right.
that's at least not only with the phone, but, keeping up with responsibilities.
Hmm.
I have said to my 12-year-old that, you know, there have absolutely, to your point, Jill, been days where, I'll ask at like 7:30, like, so hey, did you have any homework?
Right.
And like I get the big-eyed look of like, oh shit.
Right.
Yes, I do, but I was busy doing all the other things.
Right.
And so, in my house, it's iPads. And the other day, I changed the passcode to the iPad
Mm-hmm.
and I turned off the fingerprint login. And so now my child has to ask to use it. There's no sneaking it around. And
Mm-hmm.
maybe I'll change that back eventually, but I
Right.
sent a clear message that
Yeah,
I'm
it
in
needs to
charge
be
of
done.
this stuff. This is a privilege.
Right. Yeah, I say that often. Like, this is a privilege. It's not like you're born right here. Like,
Yeah.
'cause, yeah, screen time is tricky. I think it's
It
really
is
tricky.
tricky. It is really, really tricky. And, you know, I think when you're a single parent,
Mm-hmm.
it's really hard to not have them kids get occupied when they do, because you can get the dishes done.
Right.
So I
Yeah.
can see how it can be a helpful tool.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but if your 12-year-old's like addicted to it,
Right.
then like maybe they just need more limits and
Right.
need to remember what their priorities are. I don't know that this is going to work. What am I talking about? I'm like just wandering into this world, and my 12-year-old only has like it's like one of those non-app. It looks like a smartphone, but
Mm-hmm.
it only calls and texts.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even think. Oh man, I don't even think the music app works on
Mm-hmm.
it. So
Yeah, I mean,
um,
I'm all for, I mean, despite the thing I just said, I'm not opposed to parental controls. I
yeah.
think giving your kid free reign of the internet is insane, really.
It is like
Scary.
legitimately bad for them. Like,
Yeah. Oh, there's data. Like, I mean,
huh?
I don't know if we're doing data anymore, like in the world, but there's data and
For you data
uses.
believers.
Right. Um, so I do think, limiting screen time makes sense,
Hmm.
showing that they have responsibilities and.
Using their imagination.
Right. But also, like, the daughter could have some consequences,
Hmm.
not even from the father, but at school.
You're
If you're not
exactly
going to
right.
get your homework done, the consequence is really going to be
Yeah.
on you.
Fuck around and find out. I
Right.
realize the dad is worried about daughter's future, but daughter's got to have a vested interest in daughter's future.
Right. So, do you think he's the asshole or not? See, this is hard for me. I mean, because I would always
No,
say,
I don't think he's the asshole.
no. I don't think he's a. No, I don't think so either, I guess. But we're interested to see what you think.
Yeah, give us do we have some hot takes here, or does anyone want to share? I'd love to read what some people think.
Yeah. In your experience with limiting screen time or not limiting screen time, that would be.
Or navigating things that happen at the other parent's house that you don't approve of.
Right. That
Hmm.
would be a lot. All right.
All
Thank
right,
you
see
so
you
much.
next time.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us for Co-parenting and Coffee. This podcast is provided for informational purposes only and should not be construed as legal advice on any subject matter. If you liked our podcast, feel free to drop us a review. We'd appreciate it. Looking forward to seeing you next time for a cup of coffee and a chat with another expert on co-parenting.